welcome to the Connection Podcast. I am Lauren Dry, also known as the Connection Catalyst. Connection and this podcast for me is personal. As a driven professional, I found myself an expert in all things work and business, but it was at home that I really needed clarity and ease. After finally finding it one marriage breakdown and one marriage reset later, and finally discovering what really works to have connection in modern relationships, using science, simplicity, and soul, our signature program, Rise into Regulation, was born. That's giving so many others in modern, driven relationships back clarity and ease for good. On the podcast today, we're going to dive deep together on all things relationships, business, identity, and leadership. And clarity and ease is at the heart of it all. And we are so happy to be with you so that you can have what you need in connection, mind, body, and soul too. So here's something I hear a lot, and it is, why do we slip into that defensive resentment thing so fast, even when neither person is trying to argue about anything? And there's a reason these small moments can turn so quickly, because usually it's just patterns kicking in before you even notice. And we're going to talk about what that dance actually is, why it happens, and a few simple things that can help make it easier to step out of that dance instead of getting pulled in every time. The defensive resentment dance and the loop that you fall into without even trying, that whole thing where you suddenly feel irritated and distant and you have no idea how you got there because like 10 minutes ago, everything was fine. For one of my previous clients, let's call her Mary, what happens is that she'll bring up something tiny, it's not even a fight. It's something little like, oh, hey, can we chat about the school pickup or the family do that's on next week? Maybe it's something she forgot to say, or maybe he made a comment and she just wants to address it. So what she does is she uses her communication tools and she comes in really softly. She's reasonable and she's totally normal. But the second she brings up what's wrong, she can feel his whole energy shift and she notices straight away that something's off. And then what he does is he gets really quiet, maybe his tone changes, and you can see in his face he's about to get defensive. And what's really annoying is that he's not actually trying to be defensive. He's not sitting there thinking, let me just see how I can break this whole thing apart. In his brain, he's going into, oh, I've disappointed her again, or I'm not good enough, or I messed this up. And he wants to defend his identity. And what most men won't do is say that out loud, and women when they experience this as too. What happens is she sees this energy shift and then she feels alone and abandoned. You know, all she was doing was just trying to fix this, and he's taken it as an insult, as a hurt. And then she feels resentful. And that builds into the same defensiveness back again. So resentment sounds like, why does everything always spiral like this? Or why can't he just listen to me? Why can't he hear me? Or why am I always the one who has to hold the emotional weight of the relationship? And then the second he feels her energy shift, now he's spiraling as well, because he thinks her resentment is saying, you failed. And nothing shuts a man down faster than feeling like he's failing his partner. It's awful. So on they go. And it's this spiral of doom, and they're in a full-blown pattern and a full-blown argument without even knowing how they got there. And that's the dance. And it's awful because neither person meant for it to happen. It's just two people having emotional reactions to things that they're not saying. They're talking about the dishes, so to speak. And the thing is, if you slow down and look what's happening underneath all that mess, she just wants to be close and he doesn't want to disappoint her. And that's it. That's the whole thing. But the delivery is what is bringing each of them off track. And something that I see in this cycle in almost every couple is her resentment is not about the topic. It's about the buildup. It's about, every time she's felt brushed aside. It's every eye roll. It's the emotional baggage that comes with feeling like she has to do all the work in the first place. For him, the defensiveness is rarely about her tone. It's that old childhood wound or patterns that say, when I get something wrong, connection gets pulled away. I'm left alone. I'm trouble. I'm bad. And it's not conscious. It's definitely not logical. And the way that this happens is it's like your nervous system's arguing with each other, not the actual problems themselves. And I don't want to dismiss or minimize what the concerns are. Sometimes these conversations are really important. But my favorite moment that happens between couples is when they realize it's the patterns that have been fighting each other, not the conversations. And it's their bodies jumping into this dance before their brains can tell them, hey, hang on, we're not doing this again. This pattern is so awful because it's so predictable. And often, no matter what each person is trying to do, it just keeps happening. And you know how it plays out. You know the awkward silences after. You know the distance and the disconnection. You know the resentment that just hangs around for ages afterwards. And it's like having a hangover and you don't even have the party beforehand. So what we can talk about is what lives underneath and the fuel behind these cycles that creates this. For women, it's why am I carrying the emotional weight of two people? Or I feel like I'm trying to create connection and somehow I still feel like I'm alone. And for men, the defensiveness feels like I'm really trying, and I still can't seem to get it right. And she doesn't care. She doesn't appreciate me. And each person feels like they're the only one hurting. But really, it's the same pain point, just coming out a different way. So there are some simple things that you can do to start shortcutting this cycle. Now, before we break into what actually can help break this pattern, I want to name something gently. So most people think that they need a huge dramatic transformation to make this stop, like a full overhaul. But when you notice this dynamic, sometimes that's the hardest pattern to disrupt. So the first changes you need to make are tiny, and they happen right at the moment where this spiral usually begins. So I want you to play with 3 small things that just give you a little bit of wiggle room to interrupt the dance at the start. And the key here is to actually start doing them when things feel good. Okay, practice training your nervous system the same way you'd go to training at basketball, the same way you would do training to learn yoga or whatever it is. Okay, the first step, simple. I want you to do 1 breath when you can feel that emotion in your body. And I know you're probably thinking, Lauren, don't give me another breathwork thing. But I want you to practice 1 breath, just 1. Challenge yourself. You don't have to pause dramatically and close your eyes. Just 1 second. And it gives your brain a second to catch up with your body. And it's this tiny, tiny buffer that can stop that autopilot response and just give you a second to disrupt things. The next step is say the true thing. Not the whole story, not every polished detail, just the smallest simple truth that you can grab about what's happening inside. I felt a little bit alone for a second, or I'm feeling overwhelmed, or can we take a second? I don't want to fight. And then going away and regulating for a second, even if it's just to take a few breaths and then coming back. Disarm the spiral. Practice when it's not a big deal. And number 3 is just for an extra 30 seconds when it does feel like, the spiral is going for a while and you don't know what to do, give yourself 30 seconds. Instead of saying forget it and walking off, just 30 more seconds of not saying the perfect thing, not doing the perfect thing, but just hanging on and seeing what can happen when there's room for curiosity. It's not forcing a big talk, not dragging it out, not abandoning the moment before it has a chance to turn around. It's just giving that tiny window to allow things to begin to turn around. And a lot of couples, they're just seconds away from having that nervous system, okay, I do trust you, we can work this out, in a soft way where you can start to realize we don't have to do that thing anymore. And when we do, it doesn't last as long or it doesn't feel so heavy. The changes that matter the most, they don't feel dramatic at first. They feel really subtle, like the air's starting to get a little bit lighter, or conversations don't feel like stepping on Lego anymore. And connection can start to feel a little bit easier. So if you've been living in that defensive resentment loop, please hear me when I say this. That pattern is not proof that you were broken. It's just proof that your bodies have learned this really specific way to protect themselves. And now you get to teach them a new way to connect slowly, just bit by bit. And it doesn't have to start with a huge overhaul. You just need enough tiny moments of safety that your nervous systems get to use to stop bracing for impact. And those little moments can stack up bit by bit. So I hope that that's given you just a micro tool to start using today to interrupt that pattern and allow you to have a breath of fresh air. It's something you can do today. It's something you can do right now. And if this episode felt really strong for you and you want some extra deeper tools that help you break this pattern long term, give me a message. Either way, you are not alone. And honestly, being here and listening, you're already doing better than you think. And I'm so happy you're here on this journey. Big love.